Mm. Had to get a good sip in.
Mm-hmm.
All right. 1 second
Lime.
here. All right. Let's grab all of these clips ready. Let our
Mm.
friends know we're here. Okay. Here we go. Hello, guys. Welcome to the Red Rover Republic podcast. My name is Millie, and this is my co host, Unrealness.
Whew, it's been an interesting week.
It has. I mean, this has been one hell of a crazy week. We had the government shutdown end, and then almost immediately we just run into the Epstein deflection all over again. I just feel like
Of course.
Epstein is the herpes of politics that just never goes away. Like this fucker, this man just keeps coming back over and over and over again, man. Like holy shit, do we ever get tired about talking about this man?
Well, I think we all come to the conclusion that no matter what comes out of all of this, nobody's gonna, if it doesn't implicate Trump in any wrongdoing, or other people as well, people just aren't gonna eat it. They're not gonna believe it. So I'm pretty convinced that there's no wrongdoing necessarily that Trump has done. But it doesn't matter. I've made videos about this. Even during the Ghislaine's Maxwell interview with Todd, the whatever she says, nobody's going to believe, whether it's pro Trump or against Trump. No, each side is going to. They've already planted their feet in the ground. So I don't know.
I think the Democrats kind of shot themselves in the foot, if I'm being quite honest. Like a lot of the emails that they released kind of made fools out of themselves. First, they released the redacted email that shows, it says displays victim as, the original email, and then they have to come out later and actually admit that this is Virginia Giuffre. Which is crazy because we all know that she testified in court that Donald Trump never touched her and she didn't see him touch anyone else, including other
Mhm.
girls that worked at Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, not just testified. I mean, she's on record multiple times making this exact same claim, and it was really disgusting that the Democrats, they knew what they were doing by blocking out, not just redacting, but putting the word victim in there to because they know what happens. When a news story breaks, it's the first thing it goes. It's the correction that doesn't get as far as the initial story, and they know this. They know there's a bunch of people out there still who still believe the initial message, and they remember seeing that word victim. They were trying to invoke a certain emotion, knowing that original story would go way further than any sort of correction.
100%. And I mean, I know I've played this video so many times, but it never really gets old because the Democrats having to answer for this, and I think that the propaganda arm of the mainstream media has slowed down a little bit on the propaganda because of the amount of lawsuits that keep funneling through. They keep getting sued for lying. And so on this case, they made sure that they covered their entire ass because I think CNN was probably concerned they were going to get sued for this. But here's Jasmine Crockett really quick. I just want to make sure that I have this clip ready to go.
This is an email from April 2nd, 2011. Republicans are saying that victim is Virginia Giuffre. As you know, she died by suicide. She's been very outspoken victim.
So see right here, the initial email that they put out, they covered her name and they put victim. They did this purposefully because when I looked at the documentation, like when this dropped immediately, I went straight to the Oversight Committee's website and just started digging through these data files. And almost the first data file you get in the images is somebody had the nerve to just sit there and take a photo after photo after photo of a book, a biography of Epstein that anybody
Right.
could buy. Like, why is this in the evidence? I don't know why, but we have 20,000 new documents. So I think it's going to take a while for everyone to sift through this. but it was never released with the redaction. They added that, and
They did.
that's what's coy about the whole thing. They thought they were being smooth, and now the egg is on their face.
Of Jeffrey Epstein. Here's the email right here on your screen. She wrote a book, as you know, and she did not accuse him of any wrongdoing. What do you make of that, and can you confirm that?
Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, it's redacted who the victim is, so I won't necessarily take the Republicans' word on who it is that's redacted. And I don't know why they would necessarily redact someone's name who is deceased at this point.
The Democrats did that, though. The Democrats redacted.
No. I understand,
Okay,
but I'm just saying, like, our biggest concern is to actually make sure that we are protecting victims. And obviously, she wrote a book. She told her truth.
This is an email from April 2nd.
I get that, but she's not Donald Trump's victim, and that's how they were trying to paint it. Is they were trying to make it look as if Donald Trump was the perpetrator and she was the victim. We know that. We know that she was a victim, but the way they were trying to show is that she was Donald Trump's victim. Oh, it's frustrating.
100%. And I mean, the Republicans came with the receipts, obviously. So almost immediately after this whole thing dropped on the internet, seeing if I can zoom in on this a little bit, the Republicans were quick to be like, by the way, this is what it actually looked like. So it was funny for Jasmine Crockett to have to admit that the victim is actually Virginia, because not only did she write a book, she has testified in court that Donald Trump never touched any of these girls. And so I'm going to pull that up. And I know a lot of people, you know, they've seen me talk about this a lot throughout the week, but this is so important to make sure that everybody sees it. So as long as people are available to see it on the podcast, I'd still want to make sure that the information is out there for everyone to see. So
Absolutely.
Let me grab her testimony as well. Okay. Answer: Donald Trump was also a good friend of Jeffrey's. That part is true. And so what's happening with Virginia Giuffre in court is that she's being asked to look over a review of what was written out in a complaint and tell the person who's questioning her whether or not this is accurate information or not accurate. And so when she was asked about that, she said, he didn't partake in any sex with any of us, but he flirted with me. It's true that he didn't partake in any sex with us, but it's not true that he flirted with me. Donald Trump never flirted with me. Then the next sentence is, he laughed and told Epstein, you got the life. I've never said that to her. Question: when you say he didn't participate in any of the sex with any of us, who is us? Answer: girls, just. And then he cuts her off and asks her another question. How do you know who Donald Trump had sex with? Answer: oh, I didn't physically see him have sex with any of the girls, so I can't say who he had sex with in his whole life or not. I just know it wasn't with me and when I saw with other girls. And so the next round of questions is whether or not she saw him and Epstein together. Because in another email, it's talking about whether or not Virginia saw Jeffrey and Trump in the kitchen together, right? Because Jeffrey messages in an email saying, oh, I have a picture of him and Virginia in the kitchen. And then he never actually produces that photo in any of the emails. Notice how a lot of this is set up like blackmail, and I'll get into the blackmail portion of this because Jeffrey Epstein and Michael Wolff were pretty much setting up a weird blackmail scheme with Donald Trump for political leverage.
Yeah, they were planning. Yeah, absolutely planning.
So the next question was it the basis for your statement that Donald Trump is a good friend of Jeffrey's? Answer: Jeffrey told me that Donald Trump is a good friend of his. Question: but you never observed them together? Answer: no, not that I can actually remember. I mean, not off the top of my head, no. Question: when did Donald Trump flirt with you? Answer: he didn't. That's what's inaccurate. Question: did you ever see Donald Trump at Jeffrey's home? Answer: not that I can remember. Question: on his island? Answer: no, not that I can remember. Question: in New Mexico? Answer: no, not that I can remember. Question: in New York? Answer: not that I can remember. It's kind of like, would you like this in a box? Would you like this with a sock? Would you like, like, it's almost like Dr. Seuss questioning here.
the way you led that was basically like, when did you stop beating your wife? It was like the question was set up in a way like, when did Donald Trump try to kiss you or something? He's like, well, he didn't. It's like the way he was like, it was just all leading. It was kind of scummy in a way.
That's court
just
for
hoping to
you.
get her to say something. That's gross.
That's
There should have somebody in the middle of that.
That's what cross-examination is like, when you have like a really pointed attorney that's trying to lead you to an answer and you're not taking the bait. That's what that's like, unfortunately. But it's insane the amount of bullshit that they were doing as far as like trying to set him up in some weird blackmail scheme. So I got that as well.
Millie, apparently I'm louder, way louder than you. You want to crank me down just a couple pairs there?
Oh, okay, one sec. Maybe it's
I'm the desktop audio. It's just me. You just have me slightly too high.
okay. How about that? Maybe it's that my microphone wasn't close enough to my mouth is probably what it is. Okay, so I think that should probably work, right? Is that good for everybody?
The levels, I'm definitely overpowering the levels still. I guess I can turn myself down.
That's okay.
See if I can
I'll turn it down.
I went down a notch.
Yep, I think that should be better. Okay, so I'm just gonna get to this post as well, because this goes into the email regarding Michael Wolff and Jeffrey Epstein. So Michael Wolff writes, I hear CNN is planning to ask Trump tonight about his relationship with you, either on air or in scrum afterwards. Epstein replies, if we were able to craft an answer for him, what do you think it should be? And then he says, I think you should let him hang himself. If he says that he hasn't been on the plane or to the house, then that gives you valuable PR and political currency. Which this is just crazy. You can hang him in a way that politically generates a positive benefit for you. Or if it really looks like he could win, you could save him, generating a debt. Of course, it's possible that when asked, he'll say Jeffrey is a great guy and has gotten a raw deal and is a victim of political correctness, which is to be outlawed in a Trump regime. I don't know how this man doesn't get sued for blackmail after this. This is clearly a blackmail scheme.
The plane and house thing is silly because, I mean, the plane thing, I mean, was never denied. So, like, this scheme, because the flight logs and everything were already released, we already knew that Trump's been to at least one of the houses at one point of time. I mean, they're trying to see if he would say something stupid like that. It just didn't happen. And so that their political currency they were hoping for just never came out. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of that. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. 100% investigated. I mean, I don't even know what to make of this. And this Wolf guy, I mean, his book too, right? He wrote a book that came out a few years back.
He's written, and I've looked at his books, so many books. Like, I would have to say this man has an unhealthy obsession with Donald Trump. I mean, I looked at him dropping at least 6 books with Trump being the main focus of the book. I just think this guy has like a really bad case of TDS, in my opinion.
Absolutely. But yeah, the plotting and the scheming alone, I mean, it's to me is treasonous. I would say, I would suggest it's actually treasonous trying to get this level of plotting and scheming.
But then,
not at the time the president, but the president, the candidate running. I mean, it's disgusting.
Well, so I also have the video of Michael Wolff talking about this, so I thought that was really interesting. So I have that for us as well.
At that point, Epstein's legal problems began. The police began to investigate him over allegations that he was, that there were underage women coming to his house. Epstein believed that it was Trump who first informed the police about what was going on at Epstein's house. And from that point on, they were nothing but bitter enemies.
And this is what he's telling you. This is one of the instances of what he's telling you. That,
yes.
That the following
that is the version of this related by.
A hoax yesterday.
And that's probably what I think is the worst part about them releasing these files. Like, you only showed how much of an enemy Donald Trump was to Jeffrey, and how much Jeffrey just loathed him and trying to like set him up in weird political schemes for blackmail, which I thought was weird. But
Well, you've seen the photo of Trump with the girls in bikinis in the kitchen thing. I'm like, okay, girls in bikinis in the kitchen back when Trump was a far younger man. Like, what do you mean? Like, how is that a smoking gun too? I mean, they were literally just trying to just grab at anything to make Trump look bad if they were to go further with Epstein. I like that you have this up here with Mike here, because the whole spiel of him being an informant. No, I mean, we don't have to, but the whole spiel where he kind of just let out that Trump was an informant, and then they tried to backtrack the next day, of course. I actually do believe he was an informant. I actually do believe that he was gathering information for the FBI in order to get the initial arrests. And I think Epstein knew that. He couldn't prove it. He couldn't prove it necessarily, but I think he had a pretty good suspicion, and that's where the real hatred came from. Especially when we had the Epstein's, not the Epstein's lawyer, but the victim's lawyer, come out and say Donald Trump is the only person who actually worked with me. So I truly believe that was the case.
You're referencing Bradley Edwards.
Yeah, Bradley Edwards. The whole reason why I think that Trump wants to keep it on the hush, because, and I've heard other people talk about this, so this isn't a unique thought of my own, but if Trump was outed as being an asset or working with the FBI in order to gain information from other individuals or from whoever might be doing something kind of weird or shady legally, that stop doing business with him. And that also includes him as the president of the United States. I think that knowledge could really just destroy more than just his personal power in order to get business deals, but also legitimate business deals, that is, even, but also his presidency moving forward with other countries, negotiations, trade deals, all that jack. So I think that they want to keep this on the hush, that he was an informant. But it's a conspiracy of my own, not my own, but a conspiracy that I'm starting to adhere to, that he was actually working with the FBI for many years, gathering information for the FBI.
Yeah, and I have to do a bigger deep dive into checking to see if he was actually like a CHS, because a lot of people who are CIs are doing it undercover. So I don't know if they've leaked that information or not yet. I'd have to go deep dive for it. But what we do know is from Bradley Edwards himself that Donald Trump came forth to give them a tremendous amount of information to help the victims, because Bradley Edwards is the victim's attorney. So I have that video for you guys.
Right.
Obviously, our current president has had relationships with Epstein in the past.
It sounds pretty quiet, Melly.
Katie Johnson and maybe other victims who have accused Trump of being involved in things like this.
Can you hear it?
I can, yeah. It was just slightly lower.
In my experience, Trump supporters will not listen to anything along those lines. Obviously, we're not a court of law here right now, but are those claims of that case was dropped? It was dropped before it went to court. In your opinion, as a lawyer and your experience, is there anything you can say as to the validity of those claims, or whether or not there will be any more about that?
Nothing at all. The only thing that I can say about President Trump is that he is the only person who, in 2009, when I served a lot of subpoenas on a lot of people, or at least gave notice to some pretty connected people that I wanted to talk to them, he is the only person who picked up the phone and said, let's just talk. I'll give you as much time as you want. I'll tell you what you need to know, and was very helpful in the information that he gave, and gave no indication whatsoever that he was involved in anything untoward whatsoever, but had good information that checked out and that helped us, and that we didn't have to take a deposition of him.
And that was in 2009?
That was in 2009. So,
do you know if there's any truth to James Patterson's claims that Trump kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago?
I've definitely heard that.
Yeah. So again, why would Donald Trump go out of his way to reach out to this attorney without the instruction of someone else behind it? It seems to be too convenient. Like, perhaps, I don't know, the FBI was instructing him to go to the attorney to give him enough information, just something. I just feel like there's too many coincidences there, and maybe I'm wrong, but I have a feeling that Donald Trump needs to take this to the grave, because if it comes out at any point in time that Trump had been working with the FBI, well, before he was ever the president, he was just a businessman. I think that would tarnish his business name, not just, his name, but you got to think about his kids, and his kids do business, and they would immediately associate Donald Trump involvement with the FBI directly to his children. It would automatically trickle down. They would assume that they would be perhaps doing the same thing, and it would completely destroy his empire. But that's again, I'm just theorizing here. I have no actual full on evidence, but it seems like there's some dots I could connect for sure.
I don't think it's going to affect their business. I mean, there's nothing wrong in business about catching people that are raping children. I think that that's always good for business. Follow me, and if I catch you raping kids, I'm going to turn you into the police. I mean,
right, and that's
I don't want to do business with people that rape kids to begin with. So,
well, what I'm saying is like there's some gray areas of how people operate in business, right? I'm not going to pretend, we can't pretend as if Donald Trump has never done anything. I'm not saying necessarily always illegal, but there's definitely some gray areas, and I think that people will be hesitant, not because of the most extreme thing like child molestation or anything like that, but I mean just even the smaller things, like this is how you build up RICO cases on people, and I think that people, I think most gigantic corporations probably have some shady shit going on. So I mean, again, just assuming.
Well, they
they
certainly do, and I think that what's really, really shady is the amount of organizations that were talking to Jeffrey Epstein. You got to understand, JP Morgan's involved in this.
Exactly.
Fashion Week is involved in this. You have Michael Wolff, who used to be on USA Today, a reporter. Then you have the New York Times is also involved in this. You have Kathy Rumler, who now works for Goldman Sachs, is involved in this, and she also worked for Barack Obama as White House Security Counsel, and she's also caught red-handed messaging Jeffrey Epstein after they knew he was a prolific pedophile. I just
2015. Yeah, 2015.
Yeah, I mean, that's just after we know he's a pedo. I mean, he was already pled guilty to these crimes before, and being a sex offender, we knew this. So, and the Oversight Committee commented on this. James Comer, he came out on X saying, records now show that when Michael Wolff, the New York Times, and the House Oversight Democrats tried to take down President Trump the first time, they all worked with the same person, Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, they've been trying to do political assassinations. They tried to do that. That failed. They tried to bankrupt him. That failed. They tried to blackmail him. That failed. They tried to set up multiple political schemes like Operation Crossfire Hurricane, Operation Arctic Frost. They have gotten caught every single time trying to do everything they can to bring Donald Trump down. And unfortunately, every time they do that, it kind of bolsters his movement because of the massive influence they're trying to make to destroy him. They'll do it at any cost, and they'll sacrifice the reputation of the CIA, the NSA, the FBI, the DOJ. They will sacrifice all of these enforcement agencies and their reputation on trying to take out Trump. So why is Donald Trump such a threat to them is, I think, the biggest question.
Well, because he represents, he wants to get us out of the status quo where, the theory of the, well, I wouldn't even say it's a theory. I would say it's absolutely quite true. The uniparty is very real. I mean, you hear politicians talk about it all the time. I mean, the sunset clause, for instance, on the ACA, they didn't have to put a sunset clause during that time. They could have extended it beyond, well beyond 2025. But they put it in that, and they put it in that place because they knew they can use it as a weapon later to push forward an agenda, to pork stuff a bill, whatever it may be. The Republicans do it as well. You see the Republicans do it sometimes as well. They I can't think of the bill they just the no taxes on tips and no taxes on overtime. They sunset those in 2028, or 2029 rather. So, both parties are very guilty of this, and it seems as if they're not really trying to actually solve anything. They want to keep these issues always going, so there's always something to fight about and to push for their elections later on. Because if you fix the problems, then there's nothing to fix, and there's nothing to run on, and people lose power.
Yeah, and I mean, Donald Trump, it took no time at all for him to go to Truth Social to give his opinions on this. And so he said, the Democrats are trying to bring up the Jeffrey Epstein hoax again because they'll do anything at all to deflect on how badly they've done on the shutdown and so many other subjects. Only a very bad or stupid Republican would fall into that trap. The Democrats cost our country $1.5 trillion with their recent antics on viciously closing our country, while at the same time putting many at risk, and they should pay a fair price. They should be no deflections to Epstein or anything else, and Republicans involved should be focused only on opening up our country and fixing the massive damage caused by the Democrats.
Yeah. Again, Donald Trump represents a man who wants to solve the problem, and the Uniparty, both Republicans and Democrats collectively don't want that to happen. He is a threat to the actual swamp, and that's why we're not seeing the legislation we've been asking for. That's why we see infighting in the Republican Party going on heavily right now. They don't like the idea of actually fixing these problems. They have no interest in doing it.
Well, I think that these people need to stop falling into the Democrat deflection. Notice that the Democrats took a massive L on Monday. Massive. Okay, the government opened up. Chuck Schumer had to bend the knee. There was massive infighting playing out with the Democrats on X. Everybody watched it go down. They were out there in all capital letters, do not cave, do not cave, do not cave. Their whole entire party was admitting that, yes, indeed, Democrats were responsible for holding up the shutdown. And it's almost like that. The Democratic Party is just professionals at PR and being like, you know what? We need a complete diversion, not just for Republicans, but also for our own party to stop the infighting. And I think they held on to these documents. I think they've had it, in my opinion, as long as they knew about the birthday card. I think they've
there's
they've
no
had this.
coincidence. Yeah. I mean, the timing could not be more perfect. If it literally happened like immediately following the reopening of the government. I mean, if people can't see that this was the play all along to distract the Americans from what the Democrats did to us by shutting down the government. I mean, I don't know what world you're living in. I mean, but that's what they're banking on, right? They're banking on these low information people who just basically simply read headlines, maybe the first paragraph of an article, but they don't actually look into things themselves. They lack most critical thinking skills. It sucks. Just like I said before, the initial story gets out there, the victim, and the correction never really gets as far as the original story, and they know this.
Well, I think that Republicans need to get focused, if I'm being so honest. Republicans need to lock in because the Democrats have this down to a T, okay? They take a huge, massive L. They're prepared with the deflection. All right, cool. Release the Epstein file. Release these files that we found from the Epstein estate. This is going to distract everybody. And it worked. I mean, everybody's talking about these emails. Everyone's talking about it. So it got their side to stop fighting over the L that they just took. And now you have a bunch of Republican drama, is what I'm going to call it. And in my personal opinion, I think there's nothing more like gross than drama. I can't stand it. It's nothing but drama on the Republican side of the aisle. It's like soap opera, drama, fighting, infighting going on. It's like watching
It's not even good one.
It's like two of your friends online that you're good friends with, and you're watching this go down, and they're like, this person's a fucking asshole. And the other one's over here like, yeah, you're a fucking dick. I have these messages of you being a dick. Yeah, well, I have text messages of you too. I'm going to drop them tomorrow. Like, this is what we're doing in the Republican Party. It's so stupid. I'm like, y'all need to lock in. Lock in. You're going to lose midterms if you keep doing this really, really dumb shit. I'm so tired of seeing it. But it reminds me of a World War II era. I think if this doesn't get control, it's going to be Nazis and communists. It's going to be back to World War II again. We got the rise of the Nazis, the rise of the fucking communists. Their extremist parties are like rising again. And unfortunately, all of us people that are like normal, moderate people that are like, I don't want to be extreme. We're all sitting here like, I don't want to be either one of these. So where do I belong? I don't know where I belong right now. That's the
Well,
sad part.
unfortunately, I think we represent maybe 20% of what's, of the people overall. I think that, you see people on the right and the left that no matter what their side does, no matter what they say, they will just stand. They will die on that hill. Does not matter. It's vote blue no matter who and vote red till I'm dead kind of people, and that's just not good mentality at all.
I mean, I'm just fatigued. I'm fatigued over Israel. I'm fatigued over Epstein. I'm fatigued over drama on the internet. Like, I have fatigue over all of that. I want to focus on what's important. I want to focus on our economic issues. I want to focus on getting control over the immigration issue. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk about H-1B visas. There's been a lot of talk about 50-year mortgages. And so those are the things that I'm kind of like, some of the things that I can criticize on Donald Trump. I don't think that we should bring in a bunch of Chinese students to keep these universities floated. Let these universities fail. They're raising nothing but a bunch of Marxists. Let them fucking go under.
Yeah. Ingram's point that she made, she's like, so? He's like, they're going to fail. And she's like, so? I love how she answered. I have to give a huge credit to Ingram.
That's capitalism.
Well, I just... Ingram went in on. I think Trump went into that thinking it was going to be a softball, and Ingram just absolutely just went in on Trump, really just trying to flesh out where his actual points are. Because I'm afraid. Listen, I'm a Trump voter. You're a Trump voter. We're rooting for Trump, and I root for basically any president. I don't want any president to fail. But she held his feet to the fire, and I was actually, people are like, oh, she made Trump look bad. What do you mean? Like, first off, like, he's not. To me, Trump isn't MAGA itself, right? He might be the lead guy, right, at this point in time, but MAGA goes far beyond Trump. MAGA in itself is a reformation of what the Republican Party is. The old guard of Republicans are just fading away while MAGA is actually taking over. I feel like MAGA represents the actual center, right? There's still far right people within it that claim to be MAGA, but I don't think that's what MAGA represents at all. And I like that she went hard on him. Why? So who cares if they fail? If they can't succeed without us bringing in 600,000 Chinese nationals, so
yeah,
cool.
Yeah,
you're done.
100%. And I think that sometimes you do have to push back a little bit on Trump and let him know, hey, this is not a good direction to go in. Let's stay away from that. And I think that we've seen a lot of that from Scott Presler, and Scott Presler is out there being like, hey, we need to start embracing early voting. These are the things that we need to get done. And he keeps, trying to get the message across to Donald Trump. This is what we have to embrace, because if we don't start embracing this, you're going to lose the House, and then you're going to get impeached. And you don't want to get impeached again, because this is the way that the game is played. No matter who gets into office now, no matter what, a president's going to get impeached. I mean, that's just the silly politics that we're at right now, because it's, trickle down into this shithole that we're in right now. So I'm hoping that we fix it, and that can come with some pushback on Trump when we see him going in a direction that we don't like.
Well, going back to the 600,000 students, I mean, it wasn't long ago. I think it was at the University of Michigan. We had those Chinese nationals using that university's lab to do some research on types of spores that were designed to be I think they designated it as agro-terrorism, but it was just these spores were designed to destroy crops. These were students. They were in their 30s, but yes, they were students using the University of Michigan's lab, and they were arrested for agro-terrorism. So again, like, I'm concerned. It's not the Chinese people I'm necessarily concerned about. It's China I'm concerned about, right? They have to report to and operate within China's rules, even outside of their own country. I mean, I'm not going to get into the weeds of it all, but you can't just leave and think that you're okay. They know who your family is, and they will use that as leverage for against you if you don't do as they say. There's plenty of reports about this where entire families disappear because one Chinese national refused to actually listen to what the Chinese Communist Party was asking for. So. This isn't any secret. This isn't any giant secret. So,
and I wanted to touch base on quickly on the 50-year mortgage, because I think there's a lot of people going back and forth about, is this a good thing? Obviously, I don't think it's the perfect solution. I don't think there is a perfect solution to how to address the housing crisis. If we could snap our fingers and create a bunch of new supply, that would be absolutely preferable. But I just want to remind people, renting is a total loss. You get zero equity, and every single month your money disappears. It's gone. You're not getting a single cent of it back. When you buy a home, even on a mortgage, and I don't think most people stay in a 30-year fixed mortgage for 30 years. I think most people sell their house anywhere between 7 and 10 years, right? I don't think 50 years is the best solution. It's going to come with a little bit higher interest, and obviously the premium, you might save like $100 on your mortgage payment, right? But it's kind of like an opening of the door so that you can at least get in. And then over maybe a few years, the evaluation on your home starts becoming worth more than it was when you bought it. So if you bought like a $500,000 house, and within the next year, the evaluation on that house ends up going further. So, maybe it's like a $800,000 house. Then you just get rid of that mortgage, take the equity, go into a 30-year fixed mortgage. That's the way I see that working. Not saying it's the best solution, but it's better than nothing. You know what I mean?
I guess I agree with you, but I think the problem I have is that most people aren't as smart as you, and they're not going to be. They make horrible financial decisions, and you have very predatory banks, and that's my biggest concern. It's not that what you're saying is incorrect. I'm just worried about people's horrible decision making because they're not taught these things at very early portions of their life. Home ec isn't taught, like it's not a mandatory thing in school. So I'm just concerned about individuals. But I have to ask though, do you think a lot of people are actually going to take the 50-year option, or do you think that it's just going to be a very small handful of people?
I think it depends on which bank that you're going to get a mortgage with. But if it's between renting and a 50-year mortgage, I'll take the 50-year mortgage just to get in.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I gotcha.
Because in a few years, whatever, I sell the house, even if I make, $1,000 in equity, right? $1,000 in equity is still better than a complete total loss on renting. And I think that this generation, we got to get out there and talk to people about these things. Okay. Land equals wealth. Okay. If you want wealth distribution, right? Land was always the easiest way to get into an investment. And it was always the investment that produced almost the most amount of equity, unless you were just like gung ho on stock trading. But land was almost like your safest bet for the most part. So land equals wealth, renting equals loss. And that's what I think people have got to learn and got to start making investments.
I totally
young.
agree. I totally agree. It's just my concern is that, people aren't going to be able to understand that very well. There's a lot of Walmart Americans out there, that's my concern. The education is lacking in this department. And I think that, not to go down an education spiel, but I think that, just the most basic understanding of this stuff, it should be required in school. Factoring polynomials is not going to help me really anywhere in life. I think that we need to start using real world application when it comes to teaching things like mathematics and stuff. They talk about balancing a checkbook. Yeah, we're not balancing a checkbook anymore, but just using that as a phrase, like it's an old phrase. I think that we're really doing everyone a disservice, and I think that's by design, to be honest with you, because I think banks will not be, won't be as they won't benefit as much from a very well-educated society. And where you are absolutely correct, there is a way you could definitely use this to your advantage. Most people aren't going to be smart enough to be able to understand that.
Right. And that's why I'm hoping that with my platform that, I'm not giving financial advice, okay? I'm not advising anyone on how to make financial decisions as a disclaimer, okay? But however, people need to know that you need to start making investments and you need to start doing it young. Don't wait until you're in your 30s, in your 50s to start making investments, because it's not going to produce the most outcome. I wish I was told this as a teenager, like, hey, invest in something, like take, the $100 from waitressing and put it into a partial share of the S&P. I wish somebody told me this, because I'd be sitting with quite a fuck ton of money if I were just taking $100 a month and putting it in a partial share of the S&P, buying a whole share, and eventually, by the time you hit your 30s, you'd have like a nice little nest egg. Nobody told me because we're not teaching the youth about this at all.
But my argument is, I think that's by design. That's what I mean. I think it actually is by design. They want us very uneducated on these particular topics, because the more educated people in these topics, these banks will not be making nearly as much money. And there's that. I think there's some. Again, I'm being a little conspiratorial today. Again, I think that I think that is actually what.
I think
the
I'm
way
over
they want.
conspiracies for the fucking month. I think I've had my.
Well, listen, I need you to factor the polynomial and not factor it. First off, cross multiply and divide these two polynomials. I need you to solve for both and then cross multiply and divide to give me the answer for x. Okay. Can you tell me how I should invest some money instead, huh? Can you tell me?
Honestly,
can you explain to me what APR means?
Like, yes, some algebra would be important, right? But like financing would have been a much more valuable lesson than like algebra that you touch maybe half the time in your life. You know,
they're giving you very abstract things.
Investing should be something that you're doing on a monthly basis, right? Where algebra is something that you touch like every once in a while. I mean, some people do if it's part of their main job, but most people really aren't doing that.
I guess I kind of get it because the algebra can be applicable to those types of fields and like a further way up, but the way they're teaching you is in a very abstract way. Like it's not in an application, like an applicable way, like in an everyday life or a type of way where it comes to investments and just simply buying your own property, your own house. That's my issue I have.
Well, that's why I want to use our political influence to influence a generation, because on top of like commenting on political shit that's going on in day-to-day life, I want to influence people to start looking at investments. The wealth distribution problem is not about the fact that there isn't wealth out there. There's plenty of wealth to be grabbed. It's just that people don't know how to utilize that properly in the best way possible. So that's what I want people to learn, if anything, as I'm touching on the crazy shit. But did you hear that the Democrats are planning to storm the Capitol? Like in a week?
I'm actually not aware of this. In a week.
Yeah. Buckle up, because
I'm ready. Yeah, let's hear about this. I'm not aware of this.
They got their own like little version of J6 going on.
It's time to remove the regime. We have to remove him from power. There's one way to do this. It's not violent. If violence is the way, then America has failed. The way we take him out of power is the people that are sitting in those offices on Capitol Hill look at what's going on to the people in this country and say enough is enough, and they push forth articles of impeachment. They support it. They vote for it. Everyone should be signing it. If they get enough to pass it and send it to the Senate and convict him and remove him. On 11/20, we are starting a 3-day remove from regime rally here in Washington, D.C. And when I say remove the regime, I mean we are going to come with big numbers, and we are going to go up onto Capitol Hill, and we're going to make our voices heard. We did it on 9/2, and that's going to be nothing compared to what we got planned. We are going to peaceably go into these offices and demand that they support articles of impeachment, that they release the Epstein files and stop hiding the pedophiles. On 11/21, we will have a veterans rally. You're going to see veterans coming here, standing in the streets and saying, enough's enough. This isn't what we signed up for when we swore an oath to the Constitution. And those that swore the oath need to start honoring it. And then the following day is when it all goes crazy. Peaceably. If you want to call us terrorists, Miller, Trump, Mike Johnson, fuck you,
the amount of jump
cuts. I fucking went to fucking war. And I am not a fucking terrorist. Just because you don't like what I'm saying, that's a goddamn First Amendment. Learn what the fuck that means. I'm not going to be quiet when I see you doing something that's wrong. And everybody knows what you're doing is wrong. You cannot make me stop speaking out against what you are doing. I'm not afraid of you. I encourage everybody to do it right along with me in the street, because we're going to slow these motherfuckers down. If they don't got the balls enough to impeach them, we will take their job, and we will do it for them with the next crew that we bring in.
My
The
jump cut
people
heaven.
want progressive Democrats with balls enough to stand up who will sign on for articles of impeachment on day one when they get elected. So if
They're trying
they
to make
don't
them
do their
sound
job
more-
before that, we will replace them with progressive Democrats who will do the job. And we're bringing a bunch of them in. I'm coming back to D.C. and we're bringing candidates with us. We're going to have congressmen. If you're an influencer, we want you here. We want you to tell your followers to get here. We want you to reach out to your influencer friends and tell them to get here and bring their followers. This is when we turn this around. We need everybody to take this message and say, get to Washington, D.C. for remove the regime on November 22nd.
Bro, as a person who edits videos, the amount of fucking jump cuts is nauseating. I know a lot of people might oversee that, but it was like every other word, it was jumping 2 seconds ahead because he was screwing up so much that they had to fill in the gap. So they were trying to make him sound like he was way more intelligent, way more level-headed than he actually was, because that was bad. I want to go back through that video on my own time. I want to go back to that video on my own time just to count the jump cuts. That was painful as hell to watch.
It was
holy hell,
really bad. But
and his message was stupid too, by the way. I know I should highlight the message, but the editing is what's driving me crazy. I was losing my mind that entire time.
I mean, like, look, here's the issue, right? Republicans also planned a peaceful protest, and people showed up at the Capitol, shit got out of hand, and then next thing you know, there's a riot at the Capitol. So I hope they don't regret this decision, because they said they're going to storm the office and demand his impeachment and all of this shit. And I mean, why don't you just wait till midterms, right? If that's the case, wait till you guys find out if you're going to win midterms, and then you might actually get an impeachment. Because if the Democrats do take the House, which is why I keep saying everyone needs to stop this dumb fucking infighting shit and start locking in on what's important. You have to win midterms. If you don't win midterms, Trump will probably get impeached again. And it'll be the third time that he gets impeached.
Well, the problem we see with people like him is that he's put himself in this echo chamber. You know, he's not actually looking at anything objectively or getting the information from the other side. No, unlike you and I, we go into the belly of the beast of Twitter or X or whatever, and we listen and we see how these people are talking, what they're talking about. You know, we prepare ourselves because we have to. We have to know what kind of nonsense they're going to bring to our front door when we click go live. And you oftentimes find that they're wildly misinformed. They maybe have a tenth of the story, or the story changed 10 times before they even got to the live, but they're still regurgitating the same initial nonsense. And you know, that's what we do. That's why we bring people up. That's why we engage with these types of individuals, because they're deranged. And if they're unwilling to hear us, well, we just you know, hang them out to dry and show the world what TDS really is. These people are unwilling to listen. They don't actually care. They only listen to, you know, Brian Tyler Cohen all day or whoever else, and that's it. They have no actual critical thinking skills of their own.
Well, they never look far beyond the headline, and that's the problem, right? That's why it's so easy to, like, jump ahead of the talking points. Like, I'll stay up for, like, maybe 2 or so hours doing some research after I get off my live and figure out what are going to be the talking points for tomorrow. And then I'm prepared with court documents. I'm prepared with oversight committee transcripts, subpoenas, all of that shit, because I want to be ready and prepared to just debunk and decimate all of these talking points, because it really is that easy. I mean, it requires maybe like just a pinch full of effort to do. But there's still some infighting going on, and that happened tonight between Donald Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm not sure if most people were made aware of it, because it's actually pretty recent. Donald Trump had put out on Truth Social, "I am withdrawing my support and endorsement of Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene and of the great state of Georgia. Over the past few weeks, despite my creating record achievements for our countries, including total and complete victory on shutdown, closed borders, low taxes, no men and women's sports, or transgender for everyone, ending DEI, stopping Biden's record-setting inflation, Biggest regulation cuts in history, stopping 8 wars, rebuilding our military, being respected by every country in the world, as opposed to being the laughing stock that we were just 12 months ago, having trillions of dollars, record setting, invested into the United States, and having the greatest, hottest country anywhere in the world from being a dead country just 12 months ago, and so much more. All I see wacky Marjorie do is complain, complain, complain. It seemed to all begin when I set her poll stating that she would not run for senator or governor. She was at 12% and didn't have a chance unless of course she had my endorsement, which she wasn't about to get. She had told many people that she was upset that I don't return her phone calls anymore, but with 219 congressmen and women, 53 U.S. senators, 24 cabinet members, and almost 200 countries and otherwise normal life to lead, I can't take a ranting lunatic's call every day. I don't understand the wonderful conservative people are thinking about primarying Marjorie Taylor Greene in her district of Georgia, that they are too fed up with her and her antics, and if the right person runs, they will have my complete and unyielding support. She has gone far left, even doing The View and their low IQ Republican hating anchors. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America great again.
Yeah, I wish, Marjorie Jones she has some okay wins in the past, but Marjorie's just did a total 180, and it just became about how can I get power now? I mean, it's 2025. If she's gonna run, I mean, she has to worry about the midterms, but then she wants to run for president. It's very obvious that's what she wants to do. I couldn't imagine a worse way to approach this. He's absolutely correct. He's 100% correct.
100%. And I pulled up just a recent clip that I think was the worst thing that Marjorie Taylor could have done, on top of sitting next to the Democrats doing the Epstein circus show that's going on at Capitol Hill, because now everything's about Epstein. Epstein's in the dirt. Maxwell is fucking arrested in prison, and she was being tortured in prison too. Good, fuck you, right? But
yeah,
at some point, right, the Democrats are too busy keeping us focused on 2019 and not focused on what's going on with the country in 2025. Yes, I want to know who was raping children. Everybody wants to know that, right? So yes, release as much information as you can. But to constantly focus on this every single week, it's a purposeful diversion for Democrats, and the Republicans are falling into the trap. It is a political trap, and it's designed that way on purpose. But Marjorie Taylor Greene goes out and basically says, yeah, I don't know about mass deportation because I have a construction business, and that can really hurt business. Really, Marjorie? Fuck me.
Paying fair wages will hurt business, Marjorie?
Yeah.
As a conservative and as a business owner in the construction industry and as a realist, I can say we have to do something about labor, and that needs to be a smarter plan than just rounding up every single person and deporting them just like that. Right. So, and I'm going to get pushed back on that, but I'm just living in reality from here on out.
Yeah.
And if anybody's mad at me for saying the truth, then I'm sorry.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, ladies and gentlemen, our next president. Sorry, JD Vance. Well, I mean, there's people are saying it. I go to dinner parties.
Yeah, I heard you.
Well, by the way,
I heard you on Joe Rogan.
What fucking dinner party are you at where someone was like, you know what, he'd be a great president? Marjorie Taylor Greene. Stop it. Stop it.
Crazy. First off, Marjorie Taylor Greene versus JD Vance would be a bloodbath. That
she doesn't stand a
chance.
I'm
just trying to think. I'm just imagining him on stage right now. Oh my goodness, it wouldn't even be close. I mean, she just admitted to hiring illegal immigrants. I don't think JD's hired any illegal immigrants. Not that I know.
You guys, I have a construction business, I live in a reality that I don't want to actually pay people what they're worth. Like, fuck off.
I need my indentured servitude. I need to make sure I need to make sure that I'm not paying Americans a fair wage. Oh, what a disgusting. Oh my gosh.
Well, good luck running as a conservative being not pro border security. Like, who are you planning to get on board with your agenda?
Exactly. So that's really funny because JD Vance, if they both make it, when they, eventually, because the primary is going to happen, he's going to remind her of this little quote she had about essentially admitting that she is hiring illegals to do jobs that Americans should be doing, undoubtedly paying them lower wages, probably avoiding taxes, maybe perhaps paying them under the table. We don't know. I have more questions now. I mean, as I'm thinking about it, I have a lot more questions now.
100%. So Marjorie Taylor Greene didn't take no time at all to respond to President Trump's Truth Social. And so she posted out on X. She said, President Trump just attacked me and lied about me. I haven't called him at all, but I did send these text messages today. Apparently, this is what sent him over the edge, the Epstein files. And of course, he's coming after me hard to make an example to scare all the other Republicans before next week's vote to release the Epstein files. It's astonishing, really, how hard he's fighting to stop the Epstein files from coming out, that he actually goes to this level. But really, most Americans wish he would fight this hard to help the forgotten men and women of America who are fed up with foreign wars, foreign causes, and are going broke trying to feed their families, and are losing hope of ever achieving the American dream. That's what I voted for. I have supported President Trump with too much of my precious time, too much of my own money, and fought harder for him even when almost all the other Republicans turned their back and denounced him. But I won't worship or serve Donald Trump. I worship God, Jesus is my Savior, and I serve my district, GA14, and the American people. I remain the same today as I have always been, and I will continue to pray for this administration will be successful because the American people desperately deserve what they voted for. For me, I remain America first and American only.
Says the woman who hires illegal immigrants.
So she
sorry, I'm not gonna let that
I
go.
I know, right? And
America First isn't hiring illegal immigrants, Marjorie.
And don't worry, I'm gonna get into her little comment about the foreign wars and investing money in foreign countries. We'll get to that in a second because I'm gonna dog walk the hell out of her on that. She posted these text messages because this is what we do in the Republican Party today. Look at the text messages. I have the text messages. Follow me to get the text messages. This is what we're doing now in the Republican Party, but here we go.
I hate this.
DJT. Check the flight logs of Epstein's plane. Bill Clinton is on there 26 times. Hillary, too. For many of us, releasing the Epstein files has always been for women who were victims of Jeffrey Epstein, but also because we believe that Democrat bad guys like the Clintons entangled and involved with him. Epstein was the spider that wove the web of the deep state. Lean into it. And then she posts this other text message from NH, right? And it says, from Natalie, the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. And then Marjorie replies, in every single interview I've done, I've defended President Trump. I've said over and over that the women say that he did nothing wrong, and their attorney said that he was the only one who helped. And the Democrats had 4 years to release the files, but did nothing. Stop ignoring women. Many of them literally voted for President Trump and say so publicly. They have been raped as teenagers. It is not a hoax. This is what I think that she doesn't understand. They're not saying that Epstein raping girls is a hoax. That's not what's being said here. What's being said here is that this whole melodrama that's playing out, that the Democrats are using this as a political tool and a political deflection, That's the hoax. It's the Donald Trump raped young girls. That's the hoax. Donald Trump never touched anybody. And so that's what he's saying is a hoax. And maybe, again, Republicans need to be better at the messaging. And that's why earlier that video that was showed with Mike Johnson, I didn't get to play it. Maybe I'll fast forward and do that in a little bit. But Mike Johnson said the same thing. It's not that Epstein raping girls is a hoax. It's that Donald Trump is raping girls. That is the hoax.
His involvement doing that's the hoax. Right. Exactly.
Yes. And that's what's being lost in the messaging.
I wish Donald Trump was better at doing his own messaging in that. I think he could have been a lot more clear in that. To me, that's what the way when he said that, my brain went there. But you got to understand the opposition. I call them opposition. That's a terrible way to put this, but the opposition is looking for any holes, anything they can exploit. And if he's not clarifying his words exactly, then it becomes a problem. Just like the bloodbath thing, when you're talking about the automotive industry, bloodbath's a very common term, a business term. They will take his words or lack thereof and just assert their own feelings about what he was trying to say. And that's exactly what happened. I remember hearing him say this, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to talk about this all day tomorrow in my live. This is gonna be awesome. I can't wait to repeat what the actual meaning behind that was, because obviously girls being raped is not the hoax.
No.
If you think that's what he meant, you're wildly dishonest.
Yes. And again, I've said this from the beginning. The biggest Achilles heel of Donald Trump's administration, and I think Caroline Leavitt is really good, but it just needs to be hammered home. The hoax is that Donald Trump never touched anybody. It isn't a hoax that Epstein is doing stuff with children. Nobody disputes that. So, but I wanted to touch base on the comment that she made right here where it says, but really, most Americans wish that he would fight this hard to help forgotten men and women of America who are fed up with foreign wars and foreign causes and are going broke trying to feed their families and losing hope of ever achieving the American dream. Donald Trump has been flying around the world trying to stop World War III. When Biden left office, we were on the brink of World War III. Okay, and Donald Trump has been going all over the place, talking to foreign leadership, even leadership that he doesn't even fucking like, okay? The Syrian president, for fuck's sake, all the way down talking to him, talking to Putin, talking to Xi Jinping.
Cologne.
He sprayed cologne on him. He's like, you never know with these guys.
You smell like shit. Put this on. I got something for your wife too. How many wives you have? 4?
That was
I was rolling.
That was diabolical. But fucking
oh my gosh.
But fucking deserved. But the problem is in order to stop World War III, he needs to basically grab the world by the balls. So honestly, she should be thanking him, and Americans should be thanking him for trying to stop all of these foreign wars that would have probably been popping off if Donald Trump hadn't been flying all over the place. But the other portion of it is that he secured almost $5 trillion of investments from foreign countries into our country. So what are we talking about? Like, people are so obsessed with the whole Israel thing. It's all I fucking see when I get on X is Israel, right. Israel. I call it Israel derangement syndrome. Donald Trump has been so busy getting securements from United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Qatar. He's got investments from Japan. He got investments from Korea into our economy. That's what Donald Trump has brought. We haven't appropriated any money towards Israel the entire time Trump has been in office. But these people are like, we're American first. America is being delivered for by Donald Trump. And this is being forgotten about. How? I'm just confused.
You know who's really good at messaging? Going back to messaging, Bessen's been crushing at messaging. He's been playing the cleanup crew. He's incredibly well spoken. Breaking down, the difference between a cash swap and a bailout, and able to really articulate what was actually going on. I'm actually quite impressed by him. He's kind of boring to listen to when he talks for too long, but I got to say he's never wrong. And I'm really glad that he's in the position he's in, because I think without him, especially in what he's doing in Treasury wise, it's impressive. I don't think I've ever paid attention to any other Treasury secretary ever as much as I've been paying attention to this man, because I feel like he delivers the message in a very clear and concise way where I'm not left asking questions or needing to do a whole lot of extra digging. He articulates himself so well that I feel like, okay, this man knows what he's doing. This man actually knows how to get the proper message across. And unfortunately, he's been delegated to cleaning up Donald Trump's mishaps. That's what I kind of hate. But regardless, he's doing a great job. I really do think he's doing an incredible job. This Argentina thing, we have the soybeans now. I think the first shipment has been charted now to go into China. Things are looking up. Things are looking really good. But we're too busy talking about Candace Owens in Israel every single day. So I don't know. I don't know where anything's at anymore.
This is what they should be playing every day, because Scott Bessent, you're absolutely right. Scott Bessent is probably the best Treasury Secretary that we've ever had. He's very, very intelligent, knows a lot about economy, knows a lot about financing, and a lot about banking. This is exactly who you need to be in the Treasury, not Janet Yellen, who, refinanced our debt.
He explains it.
At a high interest.
He explains it in a very digestible way, where it doesn't feel like he's trying to lose you. He doesn't talk as if you're stupid, but he gives it to you in a way that most people could gather and piece together.
100%. And I pulled up just the two recent interviews that he did that I think he just bombshelled. Like, this is what an economic savage looks like. Like, dog walking, just...
Amid this discussion of costs and prices and affordability, how does a $20 billion bailout of Argentina help Americans? You're the president's point person on that. Can you explain to those here who are feeling the pinch, including America's farmers, why the United States is helping out Argentina?
Well, do you know what a swap line is?
It's currency swap, yes.
Yes, but what is that?
You're the Treasury Secretary.
Yes, but
where's that emotional damage? Like, that's the soundboard I need for this
I just read what they told me to say.
Yeah. Wait, what? I wasn't told I was gonna be like fucking embarrassed on national television.
Why would you call it a bailout?
That is how...
In most bailouts, you don't make money. The U.S. government made money. We used our financial balance sheet to stabilize the government. One of our great allies in Latin America, during an election, the president there won in a landslide. The government's going to make money, and I would rather use peace through economic strength than have to be shooting at narco boats coming offshore if the government collapsed. We have a generational opportunity in Latin America to create allies. We just saw an election in Bolivia. We're probably going to see an election in Colombia. We've seen them in Ecuador. We're going to see them in Chile. So by stabilizing the economy there and making a profit, then that's a very good deal for the American people. And there's a lot we could have been doing for American farmers, but Democrats closed the government.
Savage.
Absolutely.
And I think that a lot of people get misunderstood. Like, you have to understand, the way China fights wars is they want to economically cripple their opponent. So they will leverage economic strength in manipulating proxies, which is what they were doing with Argentina. They were avoiding our tariffs with the soybeans by just getting soybeans from Argentina. Mm-hmm. Us doing this currency swap is basically going, do business with us. We're going to control Argentina so that you can't fuck us over on tariffs. So you're going to have to comply.
Remove their foothold.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It took their boot off the region's neck and forced forced China rather to do business with us. That shipment's it's getting loaded up on the ships right now. It's being shipped over. So those soybean farmers are probably pretty happy right now.
Yes. And then he had another great clip that I wanted to show, because this is what having a great Treasury Secretary looks like, who can actually convey what's going on for the American people.
Brian, you're going to see some substantial announcements over the next couple of days in terms of things we don't grow here in the United States. Coffee being one of them, bananas, other fruits, things like that. So that will bring the prices down very quickly. And Brian, we inherited this affordability mess. It was the worst inflation 40, 50 years. one of the worst in the nation's history. And affordability has two components. So there's the price level, and then there is income level. And what happened under Biden was the cumulative inflation, stated inflation, CPI, was 23%. But what happened to working Americans, their basket of goods and services, food, insurance, auto payments, was up in the 30s. So they felt a real gigantic differential there. And what we are going to do is, by bringing back high-paying manufacturing jobs, President Trump is going to do what he did in the first term, and that is for hourly workers and working Americans to have real wage increases. So, Brian, imagine two lines. There is the inflation line. We've got that under control. It's leveled out. That is going to start turning down. Then there's the income line, which under Biden, because so many of the jobs were government jobs, you can't get real wage growth from a government job. Real wages are going to increase. Right. And I would expect in the first quarter, second quarter of next year, those two lines are going to cross, and the American people are going to start feeling better.
And that's why I say it's a multifaceted issue. It's not just the inflation, but it's also like the amount of money that people are making. So
I wish he'd be more excited. That's the one thing I don't like about him, is that I feel like he lacks everything he's saying is very like rooted. It makes a lot of sense, but I just want him to get more excited about it. I want him to be like a little more, sometimes I feel like he's a little monotone. So I find myself, especially in a long speech, I kind of find myself checking out a little bit. So I have to rewind a second, but everything he's saying, it's easy to understand. I just wish he'd be a little bit more. Who's the guy who does the polls on CNN? What's his name? The Italian fella? Oh, I love that guy. But he's like, yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right? And he's just like, bam, circles.
Well, I think everybody's used to having a politician now like Donald Trump. If you don't have that charisma now, it's kind of like, and that's what I'm saying. I think JD Vance is going to just rock it out because JD Vance has that charisma. JD Vance is funny. JD Vance doesn't have a bunch of dirt in his closet.
Harry Etten?
Harry Etten.
Harry Etten. Yeah, that guy's fantastic. I love that guy. I absolutely love that guy. He's the best. He's the best at delivering messages and poll information. Even if he's giving me information that's supposed to be upsetting to me, I'm like, I'm okay with that. The way, just because he delivered it in such a good way. I'm not nearly as upset as I probably should be.
100%. So I want to touch on one of the things that Scott Bessent was talking about, because things are starting to heat up a little bit with Venezuela. And Venezuela thought they were going to be cute and saying, we see that you're bombing these narco boats that are coming off of our shores and shit. And so they're like, well, we're going to start stirring up our military, and we're going to, show some presence. And essentially the result of that is Marco Rubio, Pete Hegseth at the Department of War now, and Donald Trump is like, oh yeah, they just sent a whole strike group down there with a whole ass fucking aircraft carrier. Okay. And every
destroyers,
every aircraft carrier goes with protection. Okay. They're never just out there by themselves. So you have destroyers and a whole strike force that just position themselves right outside of Venezuela and essentially like, here I am. What are you going to do?
Yeah, I think it's and they know this. Like, just one of those fleets with the destroyers and the aircraft carrier. I mean, that's more military. That's more military firepower than Venezuela has 10 times over, 20 times over. We don't. I mean, they could do insane damage and not even reach the shores. They don't have to do a whole lot. They're scared shitless. Peace. We want peace. Peace. I'm sure you saw the speech. And now they're trying to flip, and then they're trying to flex, and we showed up. We answered back. We're like, okay, if you want to flex, well, here is the greatest navy of all time. And by the way, this is only part of it, and this just little tiny bit of it can just completely blast your entire country.
It's kind of like, remember when Iran went out there and was like, the whole world's gonna feel it, and we sent 2 Doritos over there, fucking bomb the shit out of their nuclear facility, and then we set like, what was it, 300, I don't know if it was 30 or 300, somewhere around that. We just launched a fuck ton of Tomahawk missiles from a submarine in an undisclosed location. They didn't even know where the fuck it came from. They were just like,
the
what?
plane's already like halfway home. Yeah, the pixels in the sky were already almost halfway home by the time they figured out they were even hit.
Well, they dropped the B-2 bombs on them, and then they just topped it off with a little bit of sprinkles with the fucking Tomahawks. Oh, you thought we were done? Nah. And that's just us fucking around. That's just us just being like, fuck you, Iran.
Well,
Imagine us like actually in war with somebody and taking it seriously. You wouldn't stand a chance.
You know, there's a lot of debate to have whether we should have done that or not. But I mean, regardless how people feel about that, you got to understand like what that message sends to the entire world, right? The whole Iran situation. What that says is like we can show up, destroy everything, and be back by supper, and by the time you notice, we're already in bed. Like that's how powerful we are. That's how powerful this country is. We are not to be messed with. We're not to be taken lightly. We understand we've had a previous administration that might have dropped a few, Hellfire missiles out of drones, but that's just the beginning. That's just what we kind of have. Like, when we show what our military force is actually capable of, it's really frightening. It sends shockwaves throughout the entire world. People recognize like, oh, this isn't just we're not a paper tiger, right? We not only have this technology, we'll show you how it's actually used or what it could be used for. And I think it was very powerful. I think it went beyond Iran. I think it went way beyond Iran. I think that went throughout the entire world.
Well, it was a direct message, and maybe people didn't know this or not. This is a direct message to Russia and China, because Russia, China, and Iran, from our own Department of War, now it used to be called DOD, but we have records of them doing naval operations together, all 3 of them, Russia, China, Iran. Since 2020, they've been doing naval operations. They were using Russia's radar system, and then they were using Chinese satellites, so they're military-grade satellites. Iran had access to both of those, and not only did we just completely drop in on them undetected, the B-2s did not pick up on radar, but they didn't pick up on satellite either, and that's direct messaging to Russia and China. Guess what? We just bypassed your equipment that you gave to Iran, and y'all didn't do shit. Russia didn't do shit. China didn't do shit. None of that.
By the way, there's a new Dorito in town, and it hasn't been fully released, but that's what's coming after it is actually the B-21. So the B-2 is actually old tech.
Yes.
It's been around for a long time. We have the B-21, the B-21 Raider. I was reading about this after its initial strike, that we were using technology from decades ago to do this attack, and it was still extremely effective against the most modern technology from these other countries, like you were saying. And that's not even our best.
No,
that's not even the best thing we have. It's not even close to it.
There's a saying as old as time: if the equipment is being talked about in the news, that's old tech. Okay, the new shit you're not gonna know about because it's still like super top secret. So if we're talking about equipment out in the open, that's old stuff. So we have stuff that's way more advanced than that. So if we're just showing something off, and at this point, we're just competing with ourselves. Like nobody can compete with even our fucking Doritos at this point. So we're just like competing with our own Doritos for supremacy here. Like,
they haven't even gave a proper demonstration of the new Dorito yet. They did an unveiling of what it kind of looks like, more or less. I mean, they showed a full model. I mean, I guess they've showed the whole thing, and they've had some photos of it in the sky, but they haven't shown how well it actually moves. They go over its maneuverability and its capabilities go far beyond what the B-2 was able to do by multiples of percent, like by lands like gigantic. And not only that, it's faster. It's more fuel efficient. It's everything the B-2 is times 10. And we still use the B-2 for this mission.
100%. 100%.
Yeah, the world should be scared. The world should be scared.
Like if just America decides like one day, honestly, I think we could probably take on the world. If the whole world decided they were just going to rise up and be like, fuck America, we're coming for you, I think America's like well prepared for that situation to occur. But I'm going to shift gears a little bit because I think everybody knows that America is just unmatched in military might. So let's move into the Customs and Border Patrol finding that 350 bricks of coke coming over the border. Like this is why we said, like, man, this is why we have tariffs, because this shit is coming through the border in semi trucks. Hang on, really quick. I'll just pull this video up because you know,
so
props to Unrealness, because I hadn't seen this footage yet. So
it's in the frame of the trailer. They're digging these bricks of cocaine out. They're all celebrating. Okay, so they're just ripping these out of the frames. They're out of the frame of this. Just an insane amount of cocaine. Look at that. Good Lord.
I don't know why we're putting on tariffs on imports.
Yeah, no clue.
No clue why we're doing. Why would we do that? Why would we do that? It says CBP tweeted out, "Have you ever seen over 350 bricks of cocaine? No, watch this. CBP officers at San Juan inspected cargo which arrived from Santo Domingo. Yes, Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic." They initiated an intrusive examination leading to the discovery of 152 bricks of cocaine. Anomalies in the second container led officers to conduct a further intrusive examination where they found 200 more bricks of cocaine.
That is absolutely wild, and it makes you wonder how many of these trucks have gotten through that had the frames of their trailers that's, you know, supporting the trailer just packed with cocaine. Like, how much of this has actually made it through? And are we gonna now like do some sort of check on every truck that's coming out of there to make sure they're not moving 350 bricks of cocaine? I mean, they're going to have to move on to something new now. I mean, they can keep trying this, but it makes you wonder how much of this got through before this bust happened, this big bust happened.
Well, so I have like essentially two questions. First question, who's the Scarface that this is going to? Like, who's the Tony Montana that these 300 fucking bricks of cocaine are going to? That's what I didn't want to know. Where was this guy heading with all of this shit?
I like to think of it as this: he was the distributor, or he was the main guy bringing it from the manufacturer to the distributors, and then it goes out like Coca-Cola, you know. Like Coca-Cola's in Albertsons, Safeways, Walmarts, what have you, but they got the main hub, the main manufacturer of Coca-Cola. I like to think this guy is the guy who delivers from Coca-Cola to the distributors, and then it fans out to all the stores. That's the way I'm trying to imagine this in my brain.
And my second
That's so
question
much
is like,
cocaine.
do you have a whole chop shop just ready to fucking tear apart these fucking trucks when they come through with all of this shit?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, what is a trailer's frame or a trailer itself worth in value compared to 350 bricks of at least a couple kilos of cocaine each, right? Like, that's nothing. That's the cost of doing business right there for you. That's a loss you're willing to take. Just get rid of it, scrap the metal, get the coke.
well, I think so. They've woken up because their boats are just getting fucked out of the water. So our whole military is just plopped in front of fucking Venezuela, just like, go ahead, send another boat out, bitch. I'm gonna fucking blow that shit out of the water. So they're just like, all right, well, we're not going to get it over there via boat. We're going to have to fucking send this over the border in trucks. So they're trying to come up with other maneuvers. On top of that, they tried to do fucking submarines too. And they failed at that shit too. The Coast Guard fucking caught their ass trying to fucking come straight through our waters in Gulf of America. And we caught them there. So I think Pete Hexas said
they tried
were
the tires already before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they would line the inners of the tires with cocaine as well. They've already tried that before. They also found it denatures the cocaine itself. So the heat of the tires moving in that speed, it actually was destroying cocaine. So they kind of gravitated away from that because the heat itself was actually destroying it. So this whole frame thing, man, I would have never thought of this. I never would have ever thought to pack the frame of a truck of a trailer of a truck rather with cocaine. It's something that would never cross my mind.
I have to say, like, a lot of people are like concerned about getting into another war, but here's the thing. 20 years fighting cartels in South America and Central America would have had better results for us than doing 20 years in the Middle East. Like this drug epidemic and the cartel and gang violence coming out of South America and Central America affects American citizens more than what's really going on in the Middle East. Like hundreds of thousands of Americans die every year from overdose, and then on top of that you have gang violence as well that comes into our inner cities and kills a lot of people. And all of this is related specifically to South and Central America. It's not really like the maple leaves up north. They're not really doing crazy shit. It's Central and South America. So I would rather use our military might to make sure that our actual border is safe domestically than the 20 years in the Middle East was kind of a waste of time.
But you got up a good point, though, because I think a lot of people, when they think of these cartels, they think about the deaths, or they connect just directly the drugs they bring in and the deaths that the drugs cause. Well, there's more to it than that. It's also the deaths that the cartels are doing themselves with their own hands. So we have cartels that are actually here in the country, obviously working with their the main organization itself, and they're killing Americans directly. Whether it be by shootings or what have you. It's not just the drugs that the cartels are using to kill Americans; it's they themselves are killing Americans.
Yes, and I wanted to bring up a clip because I meant to talk about this quite a little bit ago, but I don't think I had the opportunity, and I was kind of nervous to play this video on TikTok because of how bad it was. But did you see about what I don't know if it was a mayor or a governor in Mexico got assassinated on the Day of the Dead? Did you see that?
I did, yeah.
I wanted to grab that video. I have to kind of go through my archives here real quick because there was so much going on in that period of time. Yeah, I found it.
It does kind of suck on TikTok. I mean, obviously, YouTube has its rules as well, but YouTube understands context where TikTok's AI algorithm will smite you if you just tiptoe out of line ever so slightly. So that the platform, as much as I love TikTok, the algorithm and the reach it does provide, unfortunately the AI is a little aggressive, and the moderators they probably should be fired, if I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't usually call for people to lose their jobs, but when you're taking out people's livelihoods because you don't like what they have to say, I don't think you should have that position of power. That's just my feelings. That's just my feelings on TikTok.
And this is why I said it's kind of difficult dealing with Central and South America because the leadership there, especially in Mexico, these are in my opinion, hand selected by the cartel. Like there was so many people that got shot and killed on the campaign trail to become Mexican president, and this is no different. So just wanted to grab that really quick. I mean, just imagine what it's like for this to be going on constantly with your politicians. And they're giving them CPR. Obviously, it's to no avail. But I think it was something like 38 politicians in South and Central America were assassinated for running for office.
Yeah, it wasn't just the president. It was other positions of power as well. And it really makes you question, where Sheinbaum's allegiances. She still runs on the old rhetoric that the previous president was running on where, no guns, hugs kind of policy. Well, the fact is your cartels don't care about that messaging. And they're just basically the Mexican people are completely just being hung out to dry. And I don't know what the answer is other than our direct intervention. Again, I'm not an interventionist. I've said this 1,000 times, but like you said, we have these cartels that are killing more Americans than the 20-year war in the Middle East, this recent Middle East excursion, at least. Well, way more. I mean, how many people died? Soldiers and Americans died during the 20 years. 6,000 to 8,000, somewhere in there. I mean not to devalue their lives. That's absolutely not what I'm trying to do here. But we're talking hundreds of thousands in just the course of less than a decade, 5 years, 6 years. Okay, hundreds of thousands. Okay, this isn't this isn't to be this again. This isn't me to diminish the American lives that have died in these regions. But my point is just simply we're being way more affected by these cartels than anything that's happened in the Middle East, and it's not even kind of close.
Yeah, 100%. I want to shift gears. Just I think we have a little bit of time left for the Democratic candidate for the House seat in New York, JFK's grandson.
Yeah, Jack Schlossberg. Yeah, it's JFK's only grandson, Vogue model, throwing up some interesting hand signs. He announced his candidacy or to run for the 12th district of New York, going after Jerry Nadler's position since he's not going to be running again. Very interesting hand signs. I did make a TikTok on this, but I think it's important that we highlight this because the left made a huge point about about these people about Elon Musk throwing up the Sikh hail and it being this guy's a Nazi. Well, I mean, I look forward to hearing the spin and the spin or the way they're going to explain this. Coming off of remind me, Millie, what was the man's name who had the Nazi tattoo on his chest, the skull and bones tattoo? I can't remember.
Graham
who that was. Plattner, right? Yeah, I mean, they spun that away, right? They did everything they could to spin this way. So I really look forward to hear what they have to say about this.
And I thought that was hilarious because they didn't care about Jay Jones saying that he wanted to kill Republicans and their children. They glossed over that. Then they had the guy that was like singing, "I came in like a wrecking ball." He's doing karaoke, fucking naked in nothing but his underwear, singing Miley Cyrus's "Wrecking Ball," and he's got a Nazi tattoo on his chest. And then they admit that it's an actual Nazi tattoo. That was like the funniest part of it. But yeah, here we go.
Yo, check this out. Yo, check this out. Yo, check this out. Yo.
That's 6 Sikh hails, by the way. That's 6 of them. There's 6 there. It's unfortunate because obviously that is and he hides the fact that he's a Kennedy. He actually goes out of his way. I've noticed going through everything that people talk about him, he purposely uses his mother's last name and not his father's last name. I don't know what the reasoning behind that is. But he goes by, and he doesn't even go by his actual last name. First name. His actual first name is John. He goes by Jack, Bouvier, Kennedy, Schalsberg. Oh, just a mouthful of words, mouthful of just ridiculousness. But yeah, I just look forward to the spin, or they're just going to straight out ignore it and wait. But again, he just announced his candidacy. A day later, this gets exposed. So I wonder if he's going to just say fuck it. I mean, this is what's concerning about running for president.
This video, though, this picture gives like Hunter Biden vibes. I don't know about you, but there's
a whole video to this.
Hunter Biden vibes.
Yeah, so that's a screen grab of a video of him acting very strangely out front of a house, doing these very disturbing poses. I'm glad they didn't play that video side by side. They just use a still image on this example here, because that video is haunting. Very haunting.
Do you think I would get in trouble for showing the Hunter Biden laptop material on YouTube?
It's blurred out, so no. Depending on what version of because there's 2 versions. So as long as you do the blurred out version, obviously you can't show someone actually utilize it. I don't know if you can show somebody using a crack pipe. I don't know, but you definitely can't show any nudity. So that's out the window.
Yeah. I really want people to see that shit. I really want people to understand how bad that laptop was, and that the CIA, our intelligence agents that came out, including John Brennan, that were like, no, this is just Russian propaganda. Like, people need to see what was on that laptop. Like, you have to see it, because it'll blow your mind how much dirt. If they would have shown that to the public in 2020, no fucking way that Biden even comes close to winning. Even close. But he also said the loud part, the quiet part out loud when he was talking to a reporter recently about his dad. His dad got 7 million more votes wasn't just like, 2 million, 7 million. There's never been 81 million votes for a presidential candidate.
Not even
ever
close to that. Not even kind of close to that. That's and then I mean, and then of course the next presidency, Kamala got how much?
75.
She was 10,000. So she was about 10 million. Yeah.
Donald Trump got 77 million.
Yes.
Okay. She got 75. So where did the 81 million people go? Just like trying to understand, like, where did that voter base go? Because it seemed to just sort of dissipated to the wind.
Well, I mean, did anything really change in the voter, like the voter rules that they were doing? Were they using the same? Was the same tactics still in place back during the COVID era? The mail-in ballots, the ability to harvest a certain number.
I think they cracked down. Yeah, I think they judges cracked down on a couple of things. Dominion voting machine lost to the MyPillow guy. What's his name? Again, what I can't. It's not off the top of my head.
I always forget his name. Yeah, I got it. Give me a second.
It's gonna come to you.
I'm literally gonna put my pillow guy. Mike Lindell.
Mike Lindell. Thank you. Yeah, he won his appeal on that case.
Yeah,
recently.
I saw that.
I thought that was interesting, but I think we, again, need to embrace Scott Pressler and his advice on the early voting, because he's so for real. Like, don't show up the day of if you don't have to, because like he said, there's bomb threats that happened in New Jersey on election day that happened just recently. Then he said in other situations it was snowing, and so certain locations were closed down. And then another situation that he laid out is that some places ran out of paper ballots, so then they didn't have ballots for people to write on. They just ran out. Yeah, so they were saying if you can vote early, vote early. But I do want to stress that we need to pay attention to special elections. You need to pay attention to your local elections. Call up your local election office, your district, and find out when the next election is. That's what I hope that Republicans can start getting ahead of the game of. Door knocking.
Yeah.
That stuff needs to happen.
Low propensity voting. That's the problem. That's what Republicans have suffered with for a long time. I know I hear Democrats always advocating for removing the Electoral College, but I actually, and I've thought about this for a long time, I think the Electoral College is what actually creates more low propensity voters, especially when it pertains to Republicans. Because if they were to remove that the Electoral College, I think the Democrats actually might get bit in the ass by trying to push that. I think Republicans will actually show up probably more if it's just based entirely on a popular vote. I think Republicans get really complacent, especially in red areas. They just don't show up because they're like, we won this. And I think there are less Democrats who feel that way. Now, if you remove the Electoral College and you remove that feeling that Republicans have that we're gonna win this anyways, you remove that out of their minds, I don't think Democrats stand a chance. I don't think they want what they're asking for. I really don't think so. And I think this last election actually showed that.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I agree with getting rid of the Electoral College. I think
I don't want to. I don't want to either. I'm just saying I don't think it would work the way they think it would.
I think that unfortunately, when you look at the map, most of the map is red. Like, most of these other states are red states for the most part, right? And you have some states that are getting more seat than other states. I think that it should be equal, and that every Electoral College point should be completely equal. We're a union of states, so I don't understand why one state would get more of a say than another state. It's almost like the European Union, right? A state is like its own individual nation if you look at it the way it's supposed to be intended to be. And so, like, when you're saying, oh, well, California gets like triple the amount of electoral input than other states, then they may not have more population, but we're not based off of a popular vote. So it should be an equal voice between states, because if it truly was that way, Democrats would never win. So them having California is in New York and stuff like that kind of nukes everything.
Right, but that's kind of my point, though, because if you look at California, the amount of Republicans or the amount of people voted for Donald Trump in California during the last election, they didn't get any representation, right? The Electoral College decides that these votes. So that means knowing that you live in a place, a very hard blue place, you go, I'm not going to go out and vote. Democrats are going to win this. But if it really went 1-for-1, I do think Republicans would show up more. Now, again, I agree with you. I don't want to get rid of the Electoral College, but I think the Democrats really are estimating the amount of Republicans that are actually out there, and how how low propensity they are. They don't really get out and vote nearly as much. Obviously, you look at a figure like Donald Trump. Hopefully, if J.D. Vance is running, we get that same kind of energy that we got for Donald Trump or whoever the Republican candidate may be. Obviously, I think it's going to be Vance, but I think that it was unique, and I think that's kind of what we saw during this last election, this special election. I think that Republicans are they're just too busy being being responsible. I don't know, but I think it's also wildly irresponsible for them not to show up. So I think that we need to motivate the Republican base and get their asses out there into the voting booth and actually do their job as Americans.
Well, like Scott Pressler says, you can't not be active and expect to win. Republicans need to start being more active. People need to start developing their own local chapters. And within that chapter, they need to be proactive. Get together in your spare time to get with people in the community that have the same values or close to the same values. Obviously, you're not going to agree on everything. I don't even think you and I agree on everything. But try to do that so you can push the agenda forward, because you got to get out there. You can't sit on the couch and expect to win. You got to be proactive. So if you're not online, being loud online, then find a way. You have Facebook, you have Reddit, you have so many tools at your disposal. Listen, don't knock it. Okay, Reddit's got a lot of fucking users on it, but TikTok, Facebook, X, however you decide to do it, start making your own chapters in your own communities, and then push forward in the community and be proactive about what the upcoming elections are. That's how you get ahead of the game. That's what Democrats do. I hate to say it, I get text messages all the fucking time from the Democratic Party. Are you voting? Are you voting? Who you plan to vote for? Who do you plan to vote for? I need to know. Need to know who you're going to vote for.
I need to know.
They're up my butt and around the corner trying to find out.
I could have done better, even if I would have just convinced, 3 people to get out there and vote in those areas, because I know I have people who, join in that are from Virginia, from New York, and all these other places. Would it have mattered by myself single-handedly? No, but I can't look at it that way. I need to tell people, like, hey, go vote, grab a friend, grab your brother, grab your sister, tell your dad to get the hell off the couch, stop watching a rerun of Jerry Springer, get your ass over here. We're going to go, we need to vote. And I think that, I missed the mark there too. So I feel like I could have definitely pushed that a little harder. And listen, lesson learned for sure. I mean, obviously I live in the great state of Idaho. So I mean, I'm pretty entrenched in red. I still vote. I still get out there. I voted for my previous election here. But the problem is, are people just, they've given up because they're like, oh, I'm in a blue area, doesn't matter. No, you have to shift that. If we get all the people who believe that to actually go and vote, every one of those people, you guys will win. Stop discounting what you're actually capable of doing. You just have to convince 1 or 2 other people around you, and that can make all the difference. Because if they convince a couple people around them, if it's just 1, maybe 2, and so on and so forth, it's a domino effect. You guys really want to take power, you really want to move the needle, you have to go out there and vote. You have to also convince your friends and family to get their asses out there to vote too. You have to do it.
100% agree with you on that standpoint. And that's why I say I was just talking to Logic and Liberty about getting some conservative voices together to get us at the table and vocally put out to our audience, which I think, OM has an audience, I have an audience, you have an audience, Logic and Liberty has an audience, and there's a lot of other conservatives within the movement that have an audience, about sitting down at the table and finding out what we need to get done to win elections and stop with all of the fucking drama that's going on X and lock in and get focused for midterms, because that's truly what needs to be happening. I don't care about the true crime drama bullshit that's going on X. I want to know how we're going to get midterms secured. And if we can't do that, then what is going to be the countermeasure? Because you got to start planning these things out in advance. Otherwise, you're going to lose every single election. And we'll be sitting here back in an authoritarian regime under the Democratic Party where everything gets censored. YouTube gets censored. Say goodbye to this podcast. You'll never see it. Then on top of that, TikTok's going to be under attack. You're going to have X that's going to be under attack. Meta's going to be under attack. Google will be under attack again. All of that will get censored. I'm sure they'll blow up the filibuster and then they'll put laws in place much like the UK. I don't want to see that happen. I want to protect our freedoms. And if you don't fucking focus on what's important and you're too busy wrapped up in, oh, the feds are up to no good, nothing's ever going to get done. So that's my message.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we were saying, these midterms, extremely important, guys. If you want Donald Trump to actually be able to do something, he has to actually have the power. If we lose these midterms, he's going to be absolutely lame duck until the end. And then, again, like she said, the Democrats will assume power fully. They'll win the presidency, surely. And then we're right back into Biden era tactics where we have Facebook being reached out to by the administration, whatever that administration may be, to silence conservatives like myself, like Millie, like Logic, like OM, and we're right back to where we were. We're right back to horrific policies. And listen, as much as I like making content, because that's easy pickings for content, that's not what I'm about. I want our country to do great. I want America to be great. And we're not going to get there if we're tripping over our own dicks and we're having infighting. We actually have to focus on the prize here. We have to ignore the stupid drama. We have to get out there and vote. And you have to get out there and vote. It's driving me crazy how many low propensity voters are on the right. I get it. You guys have things to do. Okay. You need to go fishing. Okay. You need to go hunting. Okay. I don't know. You need to, cancel all your subscriptions. Netflix. I get it. You guys are busy, but you guys got to find the time. If you can get in early, get in early. If you can't make it until the day of, get in there. If you have to take an hour off to work, I get it. You can't miss an hour of work. It's the economy is rough sometimes, but you got to figure something out. Get your asses in there because we have to move this needle. Otherwise, we're fucked. We're right back to where we were. I don't want to do this. I don't want 4 more years of Biden again. Do you?
No. And especially if you're in a blue state, right? Just because you're in a blue state, don't let that stop you from being proactive, because that's what the Democratic Party hopes for. They're like, oh, well, they know it's a blue state. They're not going to stand a chance here. That's what they're betting on. So as long as you give up because you're in a blue state and you don't want to push forward to make a difference, you can make a difference. And they're counting on the fact that you're not going to do anything because it's such a high density blue area. Make the move. Yep. Okay. And that's the message, I think, for the end of the podcast, guys. I want to thank you so much for showing up. I think we had a great show today. Hopefully everybody has a safe weekend. I want to thank my co-host, Unrealness. Thank you so much. And my name is Millie Shushies. We both host lives on TikTok. So if you want to join us Monday through Friday, or I think Unrealness you go on
Saturday.
The weekends. Yeah, every once in a while.
Sometimes on Saturday. Yeah.
My screen name is Millie Shushies, and Unrealness is obviously Unrealness on TikTok, with 2 E's, by the way.
2 E's.
Catch us there in the meantime, and until next time, on next Friday, same time, same place. It's going to be 7:30 p.m. on Pacific time. So thank you so much for showing up. Much love, and thanks for joining us for the podcast.